And welcome back to A Chapter a Day.
Keeps the devil away.
I'm Pastor Pleck. That's Pastor Holland. We're talking 1 Corinthians chapter 8. I'm going to outline it, and then we're going to observe it, interpret, and apply it so that you and Jesus can get lined up for your day today. All right, verses 1 through 3, we talk about the principle of knowledge versus love. We know that we all have knowledge about idols, but knowledge puffs up, makes one arrogant, while love edifies and builds up. Then you got verses 4 through 6, the theological truth about idols. And then we go to verses 7 and 8, the problem of the weak conscience for those who are weak in their faith. Then verses 9 through 13, the danger of causing others to stumble, and take care that this right liberty of yours does not become a stumbling block to the weak. So don't just go around eating meat if it's going to cause your brother to stumble. All right, let's get into some observations. What do you see here?
All right. There's many gods and many lords in verse 5. But then he also says, an idol has no real existence. And in the ESV, all these phrases are in quotes, and so the quotation marks are not in the original Greek. So this is an interpretive decision.
Right.
Where they're going, okay, what Paul's probably doing is responding to things that they've said to him or common knowledge that they all had, like an idol has no real existence. And so they put quotes around it saying like, okay, this is a common phrase that they're agreeing about. And you have that several times here.
So hold on, let's just go over that. It's we know that all of us possess knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. That's a quote.
Yeah.
Then if anyone imagines that he knows something he doesn't yet know as he ought to know, that's another quote.
Mine doesn't have quotes there. Does yours?
No, because mine doesn't have any quotes. I was just wondering how many quotes do you have?
Are you looking at ESV?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So like all of us possess knowledge in verse 1, that has quotation marks around it.
Yep. And then the next one is knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. That's another one.
No, it says knowledge in quotes on this one. Maybe we're looking at two different versions of the ESV or something.
Well, mine's the computer version here. So
okay. Verse 4, an idol has no real existence, has quotes around it. And then there's no God but one, has quotes around it.
Right.
So I'm saying the reason those quotes are there is that interpreters are going, okay, these are common phrases. Like there's no God but one. That's like, that's an Old Testament teaching, right?
Yeah. But look at verse 5. As indeed there are many gods and many lords.
Yeah. And then he, even earlier in verse 5, he says so-called gods in heaven or on earth.
What are those?
So there's something going on here. And we already know from several chapters in 1 Corinthians that angels are being referred to as real spiritual beings. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's a biblical teaching. We know that angels, they're going to come up again in chapter 11. We know that he says we're going to judge angels. He says that he's become a spectacle before angels. So there's a lot of talks of spiritual beings here. And so when it says these, and we know he's going to talk about demons too in chapter 11.
Yep.
So we know demons are real. So what are the so-called gods in heaven or on earth, the gods and lords? Do you think these are made up, imagined?
I think these are legit demons.
Okay.
I think the idol has no special power, like the wooden idol or the
idol itself.
Right, has no special power.
Right.
However, there are gods, demons, who do exercise power and lord authority over men who don't have Jesus. And so there is a real demonic power, which Jesus came and we saw his power over the spiritual realm all throughout the Gospels. And here he's saying, like, listen, they're nothing to us. We crush them. And so whenever we come, things that are inanimate, like meat, that isn't a holy or it's either food, it could be a tool, it could be whatever, but it's not in of itself evil.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. He says there may be so-called gods in heaven or on earth. And it seems like he's speaking to the existence of real spiritual beings in heaven or on earth.
Right.
And so people worshiping angels and demons or supernatural, beings, and that this kind of practice of idol worship and demonic worship was really common in Corinth. And he's saying like, where is it? Verse 7, some through former association with idols eat food as really offered to an idol. So it's like people who used to worship demons through these statue idols have now become Christians, and they're very sensitive to food sacrificed to idols because of their background, right? Is that what he's saying?
They don't want to go back to that darkness.
Yeah. But he's saying there might be others who go, I just want a chicken sandwich or whatever it is. I don't care if somebody offered it to an idol in the market. This is God's food, and I'm going to eat it and enjoy it, right? And he's saying, if that's you and you can have a clear conscience eating that, but it's going to make your brother stumble, don't do it. Care more about your brother than the burger.
Now, what about this? He says, don't, I think it's in Romans where it says, don't let what you approve of be spoken of as evil.
Yeah.
How do you measure that against this verse of like, if I don't, I'm not going to eat it all in a sense to prevent my brother from stumbling. So there's this kind of this concept where like, this gets into blaming other people for your own failures. Where I probably see this the most is men blaming women for their lust. Like, oh, she wore that outfit and it's her fault and she shouldn't have done that because she should know that men struggle with lust. As opposed to owning your own stuff and overcoming. Where is the line of like, on things that are, let's call it debatable, like on where there's Christian freedom, how do we know the line? And maybe we'll get into this into observation or interpretation application, but what's the line on what line should we not cross? How do we know?
The principle he puts here in verse 13 is if food, you can take food and apply it broadly as a principle, makes my brother stumble, I'll never eat meat. I think what's important about that is you're not commanded to eat, that you have to eat that. There's, so if you're doing something that God's commanded you to, and it's making your brother stumble somehow, I can't think of a specific example, but let's
go with, you're around vegans, all right? And they're like, how dare you drink milk? You just abused that cow. And that's God's creation. How dare you do that? And you're like,
yeah.
Does that mean you'll never drink milk again? Or does that mean you'll never drink milk again in front of that guy?
Yeah, in front of that guy.
Like,
but even in that, like, I don't quite equate that with this situation because the concern that they have, I do not think is a biblical concern about like God has given us all the animals for food,
right?
And so like we actually.
But that's what I'm saying. Like he takes this. And that's the like, it's clearly commanded, hey, Peter, kill and eat, don't call unclean that which God has made holy. So like you are now having to go, I don't know, against your own conscience to then preserve the conscience of your brother. But that doesn't mean become a vegetarian. That means don't flaunt your freedom in front of a weak conscious believer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that's probably a way more work to get there, but I just want to make sure we're clear on that.
Yeah. Well, and it's tricky. Like even the lust thing that you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
You could say if wearing these clothes makes my brother stumble, I'll never wear these clothes.
Exactly. Right.
And so like, I do think men, I'm like, it's both. Men need to be responsible for their thoughts and self-control. And that's the man's responsibility. I think a woman's responsibility is to dress modestly in a way that, is not
honors the Lord.
Yeah, that honors the Lord.
And if she's not a believer, well, then you can't hold her to that standard.
Yeah.
Right. There's that too. There's a lot there.
Yeah. So I think it's, case by case, you got to think through the general idea is we don't want people to be stumbling. And it's weak people. He's saying weak as in like your faith is not yet strong. You're still like new in your faith, or you're immature in your faith, or you're developing your convictions. And we don't want those people to stumble. We want to help them grow.
Right.
So that's the heart behind it, right?
Yeah, I do feel like that is a real, like this one thing causes division when Christians use their freedom And at what point is my freedom not flaunting? And I think there is, like at some point, if God allows it, you should celebrate it and fully enjoy whatever that thing is. However, some things should be just kept to yourself.
Yeah.
And that seems to be antithetical to kind of like this whole transparent, authentic life that we are feeling that we're called to live. But the reason why you're not fully transparent about every single thing is it does cause your freedom in one area could cause someone to stumble, which is why you don't post your whole life on social media.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I know we got way off on on that one. All right, let's get back into some nature of man. I think
there you go.
That might land the plane a little bit. How about we're prone to pride about our knowledge, and we become self-focused and prideful of like, look at all my freedom, and we like to flaunt truth in front of other people's.
Yeah, we have different levels of maturity and faith, and from weak to strong.
Yeah, I love that. It's a spectrum as opposed to level, maybe. How about this? We can justify our rights at the expense of others. That might be saying the same thing. The flesh prefers I'm free over how does this affect my brother? Yeah. And so be thinking about that. And I think especially I think alcohol might be another one. Like if your freedom makes that person go, oh, that's what I came from, I can't go back to that, then don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. And we have a conscience. I think that's really, a lot of what he's saying here is not just like black and white, here's a command or not in the word. It's what does your conscience allow for? Your conscience is like your inner sense of right and wrong that's a little malleable, right? It can be shaped. Yeah. And so it's important to shape your conscience according to God's word. Right. Yeah, I like that. All right. What about character of God? Let's talk about that. How about God knows and is known by those who love him? So like, yeah, I love that. And I know that makes it applicational right away, but if anyone loves God, he is loved by God. And there's an intimate relational grounds of identity that go beyond external actions. And so therefore, don't let external actions affect the relationship that's intimate. God is the creator of all things. Verse 6. From whom are all things. Nice. So he stands above and outside of all of creation. How about God values weak Christians? Doesn't want them to be destroyed. Yeah, wounding a weak brother's conscience is sinning against Jesus. Look, I think that's verse 12? Yeah. I mean, thus sinning against your brothers and wounding their conscience when it is weak, you sin against Christ. You're like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah. That's anything else? Application? Yeah. Respect? Sin to avoid or confess, promise to claim, example follow, command to obey, or knowledge to believe. What do you got? Don't cause your brother to stumble. Yeah. There's a lot of different ways you could do that. We went over a couple, but you could list a lot more. Okay. How about promise to claim? I think it's verse 3. If you love God, you are known by God. And that I love that. When you love God, he knows you. Yeah, that's awesome. I think just be humble, be willing to give up your rights and preferences for the sake of another person's faith. Yeah. How about, I don't know which one this falls into. Maybe knowledge to believe. God is one. And idols, whether false gods, addictions, cultural idols, demons, are nothing in the sense that they have no power over you. You have complete freedom from them. But it's governed by love. Yeah. And so don't sin against a brother and against Jesus by flaunting your freedom. Yeah, that's good. All right, I think that pretty much covers it there. Yeah. All right, hey, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on A Chapter a Day.